Melanie Lynskey, you played Michelle Pearson on Togetherness, which aired its second season this spring on HBO, but sadly won't be back for a third season. This show never had the widest audience, but it still must have been disappointing to get that news. What was your reaction to that?
Oh, I was on my first day of a movie, so I didn't know anybody, and I was just sort of like trying to be polite and make friends, and I got this phone call from Mark and Jay, and I just wanted to curl up in a ball and cry. I just wanted to cry all day, and I just had to go back to work and sort of be like, oh, I got some sad news, but there was nobody I could be like, oh my God, to. So I called my boyfriend. I was like, for 2 seconds and just got back into it. I was grateful to be working, but it was, yeah, we were all so sad.
And since the news came out when the second season was airing and had finished shooting, did you ever have a chance to commiserate with that group, with your cast and crew and any of that group after the fact?
No, I haven't even seen them. I got back 2 days ago from Portland where I was doing this movie, so I haven't even seen anybody. We've been emailing a lot. Amanda and I really emailed each other a lot, but I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, not everything was resolved in the last episode of the series, obviously, because it wasn't intended to end at that point. But we did get to leave Michelle on a moment of triumph. She successfully fought for her charter school and she reunited with her husband after they were estranged for most of the season. How did you feel about where the show left Michelle at the end, even though you won't get to continue?
I feel a little disappointed. I think it actually worked pretty well as a series finale, even though that was not at all what they intended. I think the thing I feel disappointed about is I think the coming back together of Brett and Michelle would have been really interesting to play, because I don't think it's that simple that he's like, sorry, and she's like, sorry. I think that was like their first sort of moment of reconciliation, and everything that could happen after that would have been so beautiful. But yeah, I watched the finale and I was like, well, this does, it's so triumphant and it's such a fun episode, and it does work as a pretty fitting closer for our show, I think.
Were there discussions, a lot of discussions about where the characters would have gone in season three? Was there material written? Did you have any knowledge about what might have been coming up?
Yeah, we had meetings about it. I met with them, and they'd written, I think, all of season three, almost all of it. So I think everybody thought we were coming back. I never let myself believe anything good is going to happen until I'm actually seeing that it has happened. So I think I was the one person who was like, let's wait and see. They'd written it.
I feel like everyone in the cast and crew should get together and do season three just sort of like as the Dune puppet show. The way they're doing that, it feels like just do it anyway.
That's an amazing idea. I love that. We totally would as well. We love each other so much, and it's so fun. That's actually an amazing idea.
Do you have any of your own thoughts and hopes, for Michelle? I mean, you played her for 2 seasons, so you got pretty close to this character. So even though we won't get to move into season three and beyond, do you have any thoughts or kind of imaginings about what her future is?
I hope she in her life would become better about asking for what she needs, and sort of allowing herself to be happy. And she's a complicated character because she just kind of represses a lot of emotion, and then it all comes out in a big jumble and a big sort of mess, which was a lot of fun to play, but I wouldn't want to live like that. I like to process things as they're happening and not sort of like keep it stuffed in and then end up exploding or pushing someone in a swimming pool, or she's she's different. So I hope she could kind of integrate some self-care and learn how to talk things through as they're happening.
Speaking about letting things come out, I mean, early on in the second season, was the moment where Michelle and Brett, their marriage seems to be back on track, and then all of a sudden she reveals the fact that she cheated on him at the end of the first season. Were you surprised that that revelation came out so quickly in season 2?
No, I wasn't. I thought it was so brilliant on the Duplass's part. It just showed such an understanding of those characters, because I think that's exactly how she would do it. She, that's my favorite episode of the whole show, first season or second season, because it's just so heartbreaking to me how they're finding each other again and they're sort of falling in love. And it's a very funny episode as well. The whole, movie game and everything. Amanda's so funny in the episode. And I feel like that's exactly the time Michelle would do it, when everything's going great. She's like, now I feel safe enough to give you this piece of information, instead of being like, this is not the time to give this piece of information, if ever there is a time. I don't know. It's good to be honest, but... Oof.
Yeah, it seems, ironic, of course, the fact that, she cheated on him and she regretted it so much, it really brought them closer together, and they were sort of syncing in a way that they hadn't before. So do you think it was, a mistake of her to reveal the news, or did they really have to hash it out and process that, out in the open?
I think as soon as she did it, she couldn't deal with the guilt. I think that was all she was thinking about from the moment it happened. And in my mind, I don't even know if she'd been able to sort of like sit with herself and think about it. I thought Michelle loved David. That was my sort of take on it. So I don't think it was so much like, I think just the reality of it and being with somebody and feeling their body, and like there was just so much about it that was so confronting to her, and she just couldn't. I think it was just like going through her mind every single second, so she couldn't live with it anymore.
And as a result of that confession, Michelle and Brett spent some time apart in especially in the middle of the season. And you and your co-star Mark Duplass spent a lot of time apart, well, on screen at least, because of course he and Jade Duplass wrote and directed all the episodes, so you were still working with him throughout. But what was it like playing Michelle alienated from Brett for so much of the season?
It was weird. I felt alienated from everybody, because there were a couple of episodes there where everybody was off and doing things. They all went to Detroit and they did this whole thing, and then we'd do a scene where I'm just lying in bed. I was like, hi everybody. It was a strange sort of place to be. And it's very weird for your boss to be somebody that you're working with so intimately. And, he and I on screen had such a complicated relationship, and it's very hard for me. He's amazing at it. He's amazing at being like, now I'm your director, now I'm your husband. But it's harder for me to make the transition. So he really dealt with me pretty well.
But when you got back together towards the end of that season, the scenes at the beach where you're working on that Dune project, and then you find out that he actually, while you were separated, he had slept with another woman, and there's that huge confrontation scene between the two of them, and so much that's been bottled up, comes rushing out to the surface. What was that scene like to shoot?
That scene was an interesting one for me, because, how do I put it? There was stuff to access in my own life that felt pertinent. So I think there was a lot of Michelle rage and a lot of Melanie rage that kind of mixed together. So it ended up being, I went to do ADR because it was all shot outside at night. And I was looking at the lines that I had to do in ADR, and I was like, it wasn't scripted. It was just crazy things that I improvised that were so intense. And Jay was in the ADR with me, and he was like, yeah, you said some crazy shit. And I didn't have a memory of it, of saying it. Weird, I was watching the screen, and I was like, it happened. I can see it in front of me, but it was really very cathartic moment for me in every way, and from Michelle. I think it felt great for her.
Yeah, and doing that, sort of off the cuff, improvising, and then seeing it back later. Were you surprised when you saw the finished product? Did they cut parts out of it? Did they trim it up in places, or how did that compare to what it was originally?
Yeah, there's always stuff that's cut out because we do improvise so much. Our editors are just so amazing. I mean, sometimes they have to look at 30-minute takes of scenes just because there's so much improv. And what they do with it is just magic, I think. But there was some discussion about some of the episodes being split, like I think having like a 10-episode season because we had so much footage. I'm splitting some episodes in two, but they intended for them to be one episode, so they just really, really condensed them. But a lot of stuff, especially for those last two episodes, a lot of stuff was missing. I'm always surprised. And also, I read the scripts, but everybody's improvising and doing so much. So, when I'm watching scenes with like Ginger Gonzaga and Steve Zissis, I've read the script, but I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen, So they're both such amazing improvisers.
And you mentioned, having all of this stuff happen, to other characters while, Melanie's not there, or while Michelle's not there because, of course, the estrangement between her and Brett. So when you finally, watched the show, were you sort of almost watching it like with fresh eyes, like seeing something you'd never seen before?
Yeah, I really was. All the stuff with Amanda and the kids. I mean, I had a little bit with Amanda this season, and that's always my favorite just because we feel like sisters in real life, and I just think she's so amazing. But her whole storyline, all her stuff with Peter Gallagher this season, I was just weeping, like watching it and texting her like, oh my God, I didn't even know what you were going through. She was really spectacular. I mean, she's always so good, but that was something that was really fun for me to see. I just felt like a fan of the show when I was watching Amanda's stuff.
Last year, for the first season of the show, you were nominated at the Critics' Choice Awards for your performance, and so was Peter Gallagher in the guest category. How was that experience, getting that recognition for the show?
It was incredible. I never expect for anything to happen. I mean, anything like that is so wonderful. But I do kind of think, because critics have to see everything. I just have such respect for critics, especially television critics, where there's just so much content and people like, I look at Emily Nussbaum on Twitter and I'm just like, how? She has a life, she has like a fulfilling life, and she also is like writing about that, but the amount of television she's getting through and writing and winning like a Pulitzer for being such a genius, like not just her, there's so many other amazing people, but so that for me was a really nice one because I was like, these people have to watch everything. So it's nice that was very nice, yeah. And for Peter, because he's so great and he's just the nicest human that has ever walked the earth.
Yeah, television has gotten crazy. I mean, even in the last 5 years, every outlet that has original scripted programming, Hulu and Netflix, and soon I think my laser printer is going to have original programming on it. So it just seems there's so much going on, and also so many opportunities. Do you have any interest or any immediate plans on coming back to television in the future?
I mean, I love it. I love being able to tell a longer form kind of story. But I don't know, at the moment I feel like I got my heart broken by somebody I'm still in love with, Like I had a great boyfriend and then he was like, listen, it's just not working out and I understand why, but I'm still like, because I do understand like HBO has to make business decisions and it's something where I'm like, okay, but I don't know. I've read a couple of Silly Love, but I just need to make sure that my heart is in it and I can do as good a job as possible.
Speaking of awards, just a few months ago, you won a special jury prize at the Sundance Film Festival for your performance in the film The Intervention, which is going to be coming out in August. What was that awards experience like, and finding out you won, and just that whole event?
It was so it was so fun. My best friend Claire Duvall wrote and directed that movie, and she wrote that part for me, and made, because I'm not a famous person, was hard. You know, she wrote an amazing part, and so she had people coming on and they were like, we'd love to give you money, but there's this great part, and can you get a famous person for it? And she stuck by me and stuck by me, and she was like, I'm not making it without her, to the point where I was like, I want you to make your movie, you know. But she was very loyal, so that was a really nice sort of full circle moment that happened. It felt really nice for her, and it was a validation of her as a writer, because I mean, it's all on the page. She wrote something that was just so fun to play. It was really fun.
And it's interesting. It's sort of a similar situation as Togetherness, at least in the sense that, you know, not only is Clea Duvall the writer and director, but she's also a co-star. So you're working with her in sort of multiple contexts. You know, how is that working with her as both an actor and a director?
It's really good. I mean, she regretted it the day we started shooting. She was like, why did I put up in every scene? Because she just wanted to be by the monitor and watching and seeing what everyone's doing. But I think she did a great job. I've been doing that a lot recently. I also did a movie with an actor called Linus Phillips, who was on Togetherness in the first season. And I did a movie with him and Jade Duell, and Linus was writing and directing and acting in it, and Jay was acting it, and it was, yeah, there's a lot of complicated things happening, yeah.
I'm sure pretty soon you'll be busily promoting the intervention as the release approaches. But do you have any other projects currently in the works now that you know, Togetherness sadly won't be coming back?
Well, I just finished this movie for Netflix that I really loved doing. It doesn't have a title yet, but Macon Blair is the writer and director. He is an actor who was in the movie Blue Ruin. Did you see that movie? It's a pretty great. Yeah. So I just did that movie with a lot of good people, Elijah Wood and Jane Levy, and a lot of great people. And then I may be doing something I don't know if I can talk about yet, but there's things happening. It's good. It's positive.
Well, it's good to keep putting yourself out there even after a heartbreak. You know, so I'm glad that you still got a lot going on, and a lot more in the future, and hopefully, you know, these 2 years of Togetherness, you know, where, you know, you're so great on them. I hope they lead to even bigger and better things. And good luck with all of that.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to you again.
It was a pleasure talking to you too.
Okay. Bye.